It's just rainbow. Just like it's a rainbow.
I don't know why. It's a lot to make a change.
Yeah. And you just, do whatever in there.
What's that? It's the one.
Nice outfit.
It's in the porch.
It's gorgeous. Well, look at the detail on that thing.
They just did.
We'll see.
With all the carved bits on top and the brackets and the curves. That was a two-foot porch. It's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
So I guess when they were in the house. You know, they're probably just put it all out.
Yes, that was done back in the day. Slight difference.
It's like a check box.
That's that. You should show that to everybody. That's so defining.
Well,
It's actually terrible.
Do it later, yeah.
You keep the slides.
okay.
Yeah, we'll have that for next time.
Yeah.
This is the house. This is the.
Yeah.
Or pizza. I don't see. Pizza.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, I
Right.
I know.
Right. Looking to allow that step back. It's really cool. That's just great. I feel that. Hey, John Joe, well, how are you?
Late, tardy.
Yes.
Not the audience.
You can, after this.
Oh, it's a Halloween. Thanks. Boo. That's very cool.
One of our own council member did the illustration. Very talented artist on the council.
Sure.
Are you doing the haunted house?
Pretty good.
Always little.
Pretty good dog.
We did it. You did, oh, terrific. Oh, it's beautiful.
Are we close to a quorum, ladies and gentlemen?
2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes. Without further ado, meeting's called to order. The first order of business is a public hearing. The commission will receive comments regarding the application for proposed work at 752 Wine Street. Generally referred to as the present door as the regular meeting agenda and following the public hearing. Ladies and gents, who's here for 752? Terrific, guys. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Perry, representing the Crescent Garage. We're doing a redevelopment of this building. Some renderings here.
I'll ask a question because I'm not sure which way we're supposed to.
Face the audience, please.
That's what I'm asking.
The owl will pick it up, pick out the whole thing, so just.
Where do you want, I guess, where do we stand to do this to address all the needs?
Yeah, why don't you stand over here?
Right over here.
You can come up front and I can get out of your way.
Oh, we can do it right here if this works, for everybody, and then.
Well, right, the people in the audience need to see it as well as the people on Zoom.
Yeah.
So.
Here, let me get out of
By multiple parties.
Right, you should go by.
You gavel for that.
Yeah.
Maybe fill on the front.
Good.
Well, you can share, you can share.
So I want my coffee and no delay.
So the Crescent Building has been vacant since 2012 when Ackerman's moved out. there was an owner that wanted to do a development in the building, the Chelsea Market kind of thing. Their financing fell through and ultimately, they didn't complete their project and the building was vacant. We envision a use, where there's apartments on the second floor. The ground floor space, Warren Street facing, will have a gallery space. And behind that on 8th Street, larger portion of the ground floor will be a video production company. And they'll be bringing jobs to Hudson. They expect 15 to 20 hires. They'll have edit suites in the basement. And then on the roof, we'll be doing a rooftop addition. We feel that the building is a great asset. The views are incredible. You're at the top of our commercial district. You have a sense of Warren Street and you get to see the Catskills, and we feel that that's just such an awesome asset. So this will be a deck space with a small event space in there, available for rental short term. Events on a daily rental at a premium on the weekend days, and then made available at a reduced cost during the week to try and serve the local community. We love the building. I personally love the period of late 19th century, early 20th century historic buildings with the steel sash windows. We want to keep the building in its original form and pay homage to it as best we can, while updating to a use that's functional. When envisioning our development for the roof, we set the addition back so that it wouldn't be viewable from Warren Street, and that's kind of what we've got here. There are a number of things that we have to modernize: energy efficiency, access. There's no egress stairs inside, so there's a lot of work to be done to kind of bring the building up to speed. But from the outside of the building, really, we want to keep the original look and pay respect to the historical nature of the building. We think it's at the end of Warren Street, a very significant place.
All right, so go through some of the technical details of the project and design report here with Chris. So I'm sorry to bring everything in large format, so hopefully this works for everybody. So like I said, we're doing a renovation of the building. The existing building is going to have minimal planned work on the exterior changing, and we're going to do two things. One of the big things we're doing is maintaining all of the steel windows on here. They're going to be cleaned and refinished. And we're going to put thermal insulation on the inside. On the Warren Street end, we're going to restore the original door to Warren Street, bring it back, restore it back to the building, bring it back in to do it. We're also on the 8th Street side going to reconstruct the overhead door that's there, similar out of the steel operation. So there wasn't a good one to show here, so I we're doing a 3rd floor addition and roof deck up here. So we're going to construct a vent space over top of the 3rd floor, like Chris said, stepped back so it's not visible from the street. And then there's going to be a roof deck around there on the balance of it. We did some renderings to show the building elevations from different vantage points. So as you can see from here, from most points, you're not going to be able to see any of the addition from normal viewing distances until you get up the street, until you get Warren Street ways. And then it does become visible again up by Wonder Valley. what's happening.
And at that point, it's like a brief period and it's, only the top of the it's very minimally visible.
So, like Chris was saying, the big part of the project was getting the building to be accessible. So we have taken the existing freight elevator that served the car dealership before, and we're going to be turning that into a stairwell, and then adding an elevator in the front and half of the building, along with another interior stair to get us all of our accessibility. On the existing building, it really doesn't do much, other than we're lowering a door here. And we're doing some ramping in the inside, so we don't have to deal with anything else. And we're maintaining this ramp on the 8th Street side. So we're not making any significant changes there. So the building is going to be as energy efficient, so historically sensitive. So behind all of these windows, we're going to be installing thermal pane windows in order to give us the energy efficiency, but still keep the look of here, so it won't be visible from the exterior. We're installing on the roof. I don't think it shows up in the renderings here, but installing energy efficient heat pumps up on the roof in the back corner, and closing that with a siding similar to the building, so that it's also not visible from the street. You'll be able to see the enclosure a little bit, but you won't be able to see any of the mechanicals up there. And then we're putting as much solar as we can on the roof in order to keep the building as, won't be net zero, but we're going to aim as far that way as possible, and also install battery packs in the building in order to get there. So Chris went briefly through the building usage. I'll just show these just to get a little bit more detail here. So on the Warren Street at the end of the building here, we're gonna have a gallery, a two-story gallery. The gallery will be first floor and basement level. We're still working on the interior vertical means of egress in here with SHPO now. On the 8th Street side, the rest of the building will be a video business in there. It'll take the first floor and the basement with the exception of the mechanical area. The second floor is planned to be 3 it's called working studio apartments. So we've got a large apartment, a medium, and a small apartment. So we've got three residential units up there. 2 of them have basically a makerspace, maybe what you call it, in order to for the artists. The third floor, like I said, is the event space is recessed. This is our Warren Street end here, and this is our 8th Street side. So we're recessed from the street so that this isn't visible from across the street around the building. And then putting a roof deck, which is actually recessed, or taking the roof that's there, we're going to recess the roof in order to recess it so you won't see any guardrails, won't see anything from the ground level when you're standing at the vantage point across the street at any point around the building. Completely disappears up there. And then, like I say, we've got the heat pumps on one end in the mechanical enclosure. We've got the elevator shaft here as part of this, and then we're filling every inch that we can with solar panels. So the existing section of the building, we're restoring it back as much as we can to its original appearance, getting rid of some of the modifications have been done over time, cleaning the brick, repointing, removing some paint that's on there, and restoring all the windows back so that they're going to be painted a heritage red, which is a color that we found was mentioned in one of the articles discussing the building early on in the usage. Up on the roof deck, the finishes up here, we're gonna have, use a hardy panel siding, that's gonna be painted charcoal slate, I believe is color. In pieces, we have the brick, elevator shaft, to carry the brick up into the top level. Something. And it's just gonna be butt glazed curtain wall for the balance. The backside, we've looked at all the fire ratings, so that was a question that we had, and we are all good on that.
Great.
And other than that, I think I was gonna just mention is, obviously, we've been working with you guys with SHPO, right, in order to get keep the building, the historic nature of the building intact and honor what it is and enhance it.
Yeah, so we work with State Historic Preservation on some consultation, and we will be applying for historic tax credits. So of course that goes through State Historic Preservation to the national standards set forth by the National Parks. So they had some comment on the restoring the door design to the original design. That's where that came from. And for us to get those tax credits, we'll have to adhere to their standards. So that, that drove a little bit of design, but really our approach from the beginning was, we love the building. We want to keep the original historic character of the building.
Good. So, commissioners, we are going to review this again later in the meeting, specifically for giving the commission an opportunity to raise its questions. This is, at this point, about the public and public comments. We're here to take input from the public. It's not a colloquy, so public folks, either electronically or in room, comments, thoughts, concerns.
Looks great. I'm curious about the apartments. What is the egress for those? There's a back stair that comes out of the alley up to the second floor, and is that the entrance to the apartment?
So there's the elevator can't serve as a second egress for safety reasons. So there is a stairwell that you enter through this door here, existing door on Warren Street. You'll enter here, and there's a stair that comes up to service the apartments there. So that would be the primary entrance. They could use that second egress in the alley. The alley's not the nicest place. It's pretty smelly back there. So we imagine that's the primary access to. And so through this doorway, you also access the elevator. So you could take the elevator up to service apartments as well.
So the primary access to the building for all the spaces is going to be Warren and 8th Street. There is some access on Prison Alley to the business space with the auxiliary entrance, and the stairwell is simply a secondary means of egress. It won't be a primary usage.
Is the use of the roof deck meant to be season permitting? And are there any built-ins that, or will just be a raw space up there?
So this space here will be a 4-season space. So the building addition or the addition on top of the second floor will be a 4-season space. And the decking around, permittable if people want to put coats on, they certainly can use it, but we imagine, in the colder seasons that the primary use will be in the indoor space.
How large is that indoor?
It's about 2,500 square feet.
For the capacity of how many people?
It's a 180, if I remember. But I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, we don't envision events that large on a regular basis. I don't think, that's not the intention of the space.
So in the warmer months, out of curiosity, would there be the intention of bringing up props and tables and chairs to activate the outdoor space?
We would probably leave that to the person that rented it, and, there could be an option where we could help facilitate that, like, I know Basilica Hudson, they have, you know, tables stored, and if people want to bring their own tables up, they could. But there's certainly an option where we can facilitate that much more easily.
The elevator would, but.
Yes.
Yes,
Could be.
and that's accessible from the Warren Street side.
So this is not for the tenant, this is a separate space you're going to rent out to like a third party?
Correct, and you know, what we envision, the video production company and the gallery space, those are two people that could really make use of this space. So, we've been envisioning a scheduled rental program, and it's not rented during that time, so the tenants could really use the space.
Chris, are you applying for a liquor license for this?
No. No, we don't intend to do any food and beverage.
Just place for,
If somebody wanted to come in and cater something, that would be for them. And that license would go through.
Michael, how do we catch folks on the electronically?
They have heard, so they can either speak up or raise their hand.
Okay, and they're, we can hear them.
Yes.
Terrific, thank you. Anybody else? Electronically or otherwise, you have questions? If not, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing. And understand, folks, these guys are back up in a little while, to address the commission directly.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you very much. A second? In favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone voted aye. All right.
All in favor? Aye.
Big floor here. I'm going to resume my throne. And first order of business, we're beginning our regular meeting. Let's review the minutes from the meeting of October 14th. I think everybody had a opportunity to get those as Jan sent them out in a timely manner. And I'd also comment they were doing good. Comments or questions or any corrections on the minutes? If not, we've made the motion to approve the minutes. Prepared by Jan. Second. In favor?
Aye.
Minutes approved. Thank you, Jan. So I tried to structure this so we can get this, as we always do, some C's of A out of the way and signs out of the way, and then go on to stuff that will require further conversation. I'd also point out at the bottom of the agenda, the folks at Hudson Forum are coming in at the end of the meeting. They're under direction from planning to get input from the commission. So it's an obligation they had to fulfill, and I thought it made sense to get that out of the way before the holiday calendar creates complications. If we can go to a certificate of appropriateness votes. Victoria, can you share as you did back in the day, or?
Jen is now going to be responsible for getting, she put up with the Zoom.
Okay. So first up, any way you want to do it, Jan, or if you can't, we'll figure out
Unless
another
she
way.
can sign in and
So we're looking at 201.5 Allen Street, and these are just C of A votes. These applications have been reviewed, approved, and the city attorney prepares a one-page document for code enforcement. If there are no questions or comments, may I have a motion to approve the C of A as prepared by the city attorney for 201.5? Thank you, John. Thank you. You all in favor?
Aye.
None opposed. 201.5 is approved. 205 Allen Street, certificate of appropriateness.
This was the replacement of the storm windows.
yes, yeah.
I think it was Arthur Sincotti presented on behalf of Jane Trombley. It was 2 wooden storm windows.
I make that motion.
Paul, and a second. You, all in favor?
Aye.
Storm windows are approved, 205 Allen Street, 21 North 6th Street.
This was the black metal gutters, existing concrete front step railing, rear stairs, and repointing of the brick. So there's a condition on this one that says unclean mortar will be matched to existing mortar in color, composition, and substance. And that original patina of brick shall be maintained. Any cleaning shall be non-abrasive and not debridable.
I make that motion.
Thank you very much. And a second from Jeremy, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Last item, this started out as a much more extensive application. We agreed to move forward, as I understand it, with just the roof.
Yeah.
At this time, and so what we're voting on is the roof.
Right, there's a statement now that says other changes submitted for approval as part of the application, still under consideration, not approved by this C of A. So
Okay, that's very clear. Thanks, Victoria.
Make that motion.
Paul, and the second, John, in favor.
Aye.
Terrific. Roof is approved for 43 North 6th Street. Certificate of appropriateness applications. We tried to get the signs out of the way pretty quick. First up, 711 Warren Street, a sign.
Morning.
Good morning.
Craig told me to bring a few copies. I'm not sure.
That's great. Sure, share them or however you want to do it.
Yeah, I have 3 copies, so I'm not sure who wants them or.
No. Fantastic. That's great. Next one.
Is that you on the screen?
Yeah.
Terrific. So let's talk about your sign.
Okay, so it's going to be a 3x3 MDO wood double-sided hanging sign on an existing bracket.
Okay, understand folks, all these signs have been through code. They have a permit and all that good code stuff. John, motion to find the application complete. You second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the sign application for 711 and request the city attorney Jeremy and who else? Paul, all in favor?
Aye.
You're approved.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
238 Warren Street, a sign.
I have 3 copies.
Sure, to share them as you see fit. Because we'll see them on the street too.
It's a 24-inch metal double-sided sign with huge steel.
Hold on one second. Are we on the screen on that? Give us a second.
This is the application. Do you have a photo of that?
I do. I sent it to Craig.
It may have slipped off, Jan, if he sent it as a separate mail.
Yeah, we have it here. It's fine.
Okay,
We have it. Yeah,
good.
and it's an existing bracket.
Existing bracket, yeah. Oh, the social back, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't-
I'm losing it. That's 238, right?
Yeah, 238.
Terrific. Motion to find the application complete, John. He was second. All in favor of motion to ask the city attorney to prepare a C of A, John and Jeremy, all in favor, I approve.
Thank you.
545 Warren Street, a sign. Yeah, just share them. I'll gather all these up at the end of the meeting and get them to Craig.
So this has an existing bracket, and that used to be my sign. I recently switched to LAC, so I needed to to have that on my sign as well. So I'm gonna be using the existing packets. I'm also gonna be using the existing sign I have, and this is the new file, which is just gonna be attached and adhered to the existing sign I have with the existing shape. So this file is gonna be printed and attached, and then it's gonna be cut for the four corners.
So this is the same dimension
the
as
same
everything is
dimension.
what you have there.
It's the same, all of it, bracket dimensions, what used to be there, it's just a different shape.
I'll make that motion.
Motion to find the application complete as called. You just second. All in favor? Aye. Motion to request the city attorney to prepare a C of A. That's Jeremy and Hugh. All in favor? Aye, or approved.
Thank you.
Okay. 611 Union Street. This is, we're treating it as a new application. I believe the application was withdrawn. But it is a continuation of the roofing material discussion we had last meeting.
It was withdrawn, part of the hearing.
I believe a new application was filed.
Oh,
No application was filed. I'm here with the homeowner. And. he would
All
like-
right, so you're holding with the previous application?
Yes,
are you
Fine.
no longer withdrawn, rescinded?
Are you rescinding your withdrawal of the previous application?
yes.
Thank you.
This, sorry, this is Walter Brett, the homeowner of 611 Union Street.
I'm sorry, Walter. Is it Walter? Is that correct? Terrific. Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Sure. Very much want to put a new roof on my house.
Sure.
I just want to tell you a few things about myself. First of all, I have a couple of pictures here, recent pictures that were taken, so I can pass these around. Thank you. See? You know the house, you probably all know the house. I may or may not, but anyway, there it is. I've been in Hudson for almost 40 years now. And I do understand and appreciate the architecture here in Hudson. I don't think anybody supports historic preservation more than ours. My deceased wife, Cassandra Vance, who was my first wife, is deceased now. She was an icon here in town. She was a pretty famous gardener and a TV personality. And she's the one who started the garden here at 611 Union Street. My wife couldn't make it today because she was a virus or something. I don't know what she's got still. Would like to have been, but not. And I have worked very hard to maintain 611 and maintain the gardens. And I believe that the gardens is what people see when they walk by. So let me just point out a few things about wood versus asphalt. I have a wood shingle on my house now. I've had it, I in fact replaced the wood shingle there about 20 years ago. And now it's not in good shape. And I want to replace it. So what I found is that severe weather, more severe summer heat, wetter seasons, it takes a toll on wood, and the wood deteriorates. And I've spoken to two roofers about wood, and they both say that wood, it just isn't the same quality as it used to be in the past. And for that reason, wood shingles just don't last the way they used to. Wood shingles also are way more expensive. To re-roof this house would cost $70,000 or more, probably more. An asphalt roof would be only about $30,000, maybe even a little less. So that's, to me, that's a significant difference. And now another point is that wood shingles require a lot more maintenance. There are stains that need to be applied, oils and power wash on a regular basis. There are chemicals to inhibit growth on the roof. And this has to be done on a routine basis quite frequently in order to save the roof. This is not something that I've done, nor do I want to do, because these chemicals wash off and they're detrimental to the garden. So that's yet another reason why I don't want to have a wood roof up there anymore. I want to point out that the curbside view is mainly of the garden. People who walk by have, they comment on the garden. They don't see the roof. And the house is rather large. So they'll see the house as a background. I believe that the roof, if it's matched color-wise, it won't be noticed. It just won't be noticed. The garden is what's noticed, and the house itself is what's noticed.
So, Mr. Britt, I'm not sure, were you at the last meeting?
No.
Because the board is not, they were not requesting that you put up a wood shingle.
Excuse me, I was the person at the last meeting. Some of the members were adamant that asphalt shingles should not be used in that house and to look for an alternative.
No, Forrest, that answer, can you read the minutes from that discussion, Jen? That's not how that rolled. We did not demand wood shingle. We asked you to identify an asphalt alternative to what you were presenting that created visually more of a sense of authenticity.
No, it wasn't an asphalt alternative. I thought we asked, well, let's consult the minutes.
Let's read the minutes.
Contractor DeForest presented for owner the proposal to replace 30-year cedar roof with asphalt shingles. Commissioner Bowl expressed that a different material might be better. Commissioner Berry suggested looking into synthetic cedar, looks like real cedar and is less expensive. Commissioner Barrett concurred and suggested a composite synthetic that could mimic the existing cedar roof. Commissioner Biber provided company names: EnviroShape, Da Vinci Roofing Products, or Brava, with a 30 to 50-year lifespan. Commissioner Chair Foreman asked for other suggestions and/or comments. Commissioner Biber suggested DeForest look into cost availability and get back to HPC. Applicant DeForest asked for approval today on asphalt shingles. Commission Chair expressed that the complication arises from replacing existing material with a different material and suggested DeForest look into materials other than asphalt and return in 2 weeks. Applicant DeForest agreed to return in 2 weeks with further information regarding roof material replacement.
Okay, well, I can comment on that also. I also have looked at other materials, the materials that are actually shakes. They're actually, but they are composite. I have looked at that also. They are a little less expensive than wood shakes, but they go on the same way as wood shakes, which means they're still very expensive to put in. Not, it's just too expensive. It's going to be a lot more expensive to do even with a material that is not wood, but is the same shape. They're the same size. They require the same amount of labor to put up. So that's why I felt that this was not something that I wanted to do. I want to do asphalt shingles. I can work with architectural shingles that look better. That's what the problem is. But I want to do asphalt.
I don't think that's in contention. What we asked the parties to come back with is to just show us an alternative to what he presented in the last meeting that would be acceptable to you and doable. That was it. We asked for an alternative, which we often do.
I see. Okay. So what's the next step then?
Well, what's the alternative? We had asked Forrest to come back. We mentioned the name of 4 or 5 different manufacturers. They're probably at different price points. We felt that the aesthetic of what we were presented with that this beautiful home of yours deserves something a little bit more authentic in its visual. We weren't asking for anything else other than an alternative to discuss.
The alternatives, because we both looked into it separately, are too expensive. And Walter is hitting the low end of the price range for an alternative.
Okay, commissioners.
What is the hardship provision?
The applicant has a right to grieve. The process would be, as I understand it, a public hearing. Discussion in the commission, and the applicant can grieve at any time after that to the common council.
Well, first we need to make a decision,
Yeah.
and
Very
then the hardship provision would kick in. Because, your main decision is supposed to be based on compatibility. Not whether something's more expensive or less expensive.
I understand that cost is not supposed to be a factor, but we were trying in this case to allow it to be a factor.
Yeah, no, I understand.
In consideration of the applicant, and we anticipated that with 5 different manufacturers and all manner of materials out there, that we would see an alternative.
Right, so you're still waiting for an alternative.
Correct.
All right, so should we then, if you suggest that we then go back and look at these 5 suggestions and then come back to you?
Or
another.
I mean, there were people trying to pitch in and the process, but however you want to proceed on that, whether it's actually looking at these or going to Harrington's or whomever, and looking at some options. It's really that's what it was about. If you want to accelerate the process, and you've got brochureware of something that you find acceptable and the pricing is acceptable, send that to me, and I'll ask someone who's better informed than myself, very likely Chip or someone, to take. We want you to get this done. We do not turn down applications. I don't want us to be in the position of doing that, and we've successfully avoided doing that for about 7 years now.
Okay, well,
We want your project done. We don't want to create a hardship. We don't want a hardship discussion. We asked the forest to show us an alternative.
all right, so what we'll do then is get together alternatives that I find acceptable, and hopefully you will find acceptable.
I'm sure we will find an acceptable alternative. We have for 7 years now found acceptable alternatives. I don't think this should be any different.
Okay, that sounds great. It's very clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're not trying to slow down your project.
Okay.
And in the event there was denial and you had to apply for hardship, it comes back to this board,
Mhm.
and you would have to show that, you have to be able to demonstrate a written hardship and that the property is incapable of earning a reasonable return for what they're asking for. So,
It's a residence, so there's no reasonable return.
well, I mean, if the roof was gonna cost more than the value of the property.
Well, that's
Something-
unlikely in Hudson nowadays.
So I think it's, I think it's in everyone's interest to work towards solution.
I appreciate it.
Excuse me, the
Yes.
solution that you're asking for is going to be cost prohibitive.
I didn't ask for anything specifically. I asked for an alternative for us.
For alternatives, we will find some alternatives that I find acceptable, and hopefully they will find acceptable, and then we'll come back to the board. That's what we're.
If you can gather up some brochureware that meets both visually a more proximate impression of the original roof, and it works for you financially. You can PDF it, you can drop it off at my house, however you want to do it. It was a simple ask.
Can you explain what it is about the roof that you're looking for? Is it the depth? Is it the texture? To give him some guidance on why the asphalt is not.
It's not about asphalt.
Well,
The-
why
the
the
specific-
flat asphalt is not.
The specific material that was presented had no connection in our view, either visually or otherwise, to even trying to approximate texture or depth. But somebody else smarter than me answer that. Chip, what would be the parameters?
Well, the wood shingle roof obviously has a different texture and color and
Sure.
pattern and appearance than asphalt shingle. And
Yeah.
the alternatives that we were hoping to see today, hopefully that would have included alternative shingles that could become close, could get closer to the appearance of the wood shingle roof. There are many alternatives out there in the market. Some of them are fiberglass, some of them are cementitious, that is like a cement shingle that's actually graded or raked, if you will, to look like a wood shingle. Some of those shingles will outperform the asphalt shingle in terms of life expectancy. And I think that what the commission is concerned about is this is a beautiful, spectacular house. Everybody loves this house. And we feel, I think many of us expressed that the wood shingle that's on the house now is an integral part of the appeal of this house. And so it's interesting that you comment that you replaced a wood shingle roof 20 years ago.
I did. And here we are, 20 years. That's supposed to be a much, last much longer.
Yeah.
But I didn't treat it with all those chemicals.
Sure.
and stains.
Yeah, understand your point about the durability of wood shingles. That's understood. What we're looking for is an alternative to wood shingles that will have the appearance, texture that will and pattern that will be consistent with this beautiful house.
Okay.
And asphalt shingles, they're horizontal, they're not vertical in nature. They have a different size, they have a different proportion, they have a different texture and color. And
Well,
so
asphalt shingle, which is what I would like to do, I agree, has a different texture. But I think we can get a shingle that has a cut that will look more like a cedar shake, at least in shape. That's what I'm hoping for. So I'll take a look for that. I think that may be out there. The individual shingles of various materials other than wood are still very labor intensive. It's a pretty big roof.
Right.
There's still, pretty extensive labor. Required to do it, and it's quite expensive.
I guess that one of the technical aspects of re-roofing a wood shingle roof is that presumably the wood shingles are put on a lattice strip, not directly on plywood. And
well, actually, this roof was done the original way, which is there are boards under there to the attic.
There's
with
space.
Spaces between
Correct.
and the shingles are just
Yeah.
tied to that. There's no plywood.
And that's the proper way to build a wood shingle roof so that it breathes, it dries out. So the point that I was making is that if you're going to put a wood shingle, an asphalt shingle on this roof, you'll need to put a layer of plywood
Yes.
down.
Right,
And so there's an added cost with the asphalt shingle,
That's true.
needs to be factored into the delta between what does a higher premium roof cost versus.
That's true, except that now, the plywood and my understanding is that plywood and the ice shielding is required now for all roofs here. I believe that's right.
Really, they like to see it nice and tight for energy efficiency.
Right. So that's going to be a cost that's going to be there no matter what. Anyway, thank you for the discussion and.
Of course.
We'll get back to you and see what we can come up.
Okay.
If you can provide your email address, someone can just email you the minutes where they discuss the specific brand names that they.
That would be good, yes, okay. It's LAW. Z as in zebra, MAL. At Verizon.net. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll get this done. We just have to work through it a little bit.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 556 Union Street, there was elevation change required. And code enforcement asked folks to come in and present how they were dealing with the change in elevation. This project had previously been approved.
We had an issue when we started to do the excavation to do the slab. It's going to be a slab on ground. We were initially trying to do it at sidewalk level, not realizing what there was this much slope from the back of the lot to the street. It's 50 feet deep. I mean, 80 feet deep and 50 feet wide. So when we started doing excavation, we found that there was such, to get it at street level or at sidewalk level, there was such an extreme amount of depth that had to go down that sort of compromised the neighbor's property. So we, for several different reasons, not just because of that, but because of the ice, the slab and drainage, we wanted to raise the platform of the building up. So we had to get it up above street level. And I guess.
Yeah, so we realized there's about 3 feet height difference that's hidden by the bushes. That's why the excavator came in and we realized we need enough depth to protect the foundation. That's why we're trying to redesign the landscape or revise the landscape so that we can protect our foundation at the same time to have a good aesthetic for the street view. So we're proposing to align our part of our so aligning the first part of our lot to the adjacent plot and then have a slope that remediate the height difference. If you go to the rendering with it, I think it's on the this is what we're proposing. Basically, we're trying to align this height to the adjacent plot, so they're aligning here, but then we're also having a slope here so that we can access, we can have that remediate the slope. So that's the slope, and then everything else is aligning the existing plot. And then if you go to the next one, which is visual, you see here that's the existing, that's why the grade is here, so we're aligning that with our plot here and having the slope to catch the height difference. We're proposing a cedar garden here, so the street level you have a nice I don't know botanic experience, but then here we're proposing cut in place concrete steps to access the house.
So is the height of
A little,
Yeah.
the problem was if we were to put it at that level, all the way back in the back of the property, it would have been very, very low.
Yeah.
We would have been having trouble with drainage. We could have compromised our slab. And we also were, the difference between our height at sidewalk and the neighbor's height was just too extreme. For our safety for drainage and for their, just for their aesthetics, and just keep it at a more level plane.
So is the height of the structure and the position of it staying the same?
No, the height of the structure itself is the same, except that we're having to raise it up on this plan.
How many feet?
3 feet.
So the entire building is being raised 3 feet. The height
It
is,
might be a
the-
little less than 3, but we're saying 3. We
Yeah.
might-
so the previous design, the height of the overall height of the building is staying the same relative to the first floor to the roof.
Yeah,
But that first floor and the roof, everything is coming up 3 feet.
And this is on grade.
It's like, just like.
You can't, I mean, you can't just lower the whole thing, obviously, right?
So that's the problem when you get to the back and you can see how far, what the extreme drop is. It would be really almost impossible to get the water down to the street. It would be, back, I don't know if we have a
So
good
you could
photograph.
do a retaining wall and a drainage system?
What's that?
Sorry.
We would have to build a retaining wall for 3 properties along the side, which they already have, 2 of them already have fencing. That they put up in the last 2 or 3 years. So then below that, level, to do a 80-foot long retaining wall to keep their property up, but it wouldn't solve our problem with getting the water from the roof or any other water that would come
Well, I mean,
around the back.
don't you get drainage in and bring it to the street?
It doesn't really make sense, so like say, this is a low point, this is, the same as the adjacent part, it doesn't make sense for us to lower everything so that we sit in the basin. What we're trying to do is to find a middle ground that is aligning with the adjacent part and also, using this slope to catch.
So I guess the question, didn't you know what the grades were when you designed it?
I think, the high difference is really, that we initially, before construction, is a really boutique area. We thought it's a relatively flat plot, and then when the excavator cleaned the site, and we realized it's higher, a little bit higher than we expected. That's why we're having this revised version of the site.
When you
We
say
had a survey,
Huh?
but we didn't have a top of that, so it was really
Of
not.
course.
We didn't plan it out real well, but now that where we are, we see what we're doing, we're also seeing how compromised, if you go back to the, where the digging, when it shows the digging. Here, this is our neighbors. In the back, you see it's about a 4 or 5 foot drop. There, in the very back, and on the side here, about the same, so it tends to taper down a little bit toward the sidewalk. But that was the issue, that we would have it sink down. Part of the problem also is that when the VFW, whatever is next door to us, which is 5 lots or 4 lots, that VFW thing was dug out, all the ground was taken out. You'll see in the back of that property, there is a 5-foot kind of retaining wall for the alley. But that whole area must have been lowered at one point compared to the houses next door.
Folks, I mean, in my view, they're trying to solve a technical problem. We can't solve that problem for them.
The proposed raising of the building doesn't modify, it's still in compliance with the height requirement, correct? So there's not a zoning issue here relative to the overall height.
Now, we haven't changed anything in terms of the building design.
Well, I actually,
This has been-
from a legal point of
This has
view,
been
excuse me,
great.
from
Okay.
a legal point of view, I don't really know how the zoning reads in terms of when a height is measured to the height of to the top of the building, the limit for the top of the building. Is that taken from average, whether there could be average grade, there can be original grade, there can be improved grade. Frequently zoning restricts, and this is completely aside from us reviewing this right now, but I think it's important to have an understanding about what the height requirement is. It's either from an existing grade or an improved grade.
I have that question. We'll pick that through Craig.
Yeah.
But that he's got to resolve planning, zoning, other elements, we're
Yeah, I
staying
think,
in our lane.
yeah, absolutely. I think that this, what's the height limit here? 45, 40 feet?
It's the mean elevation above sea level, of all streets above sea level.
How tall is that, Richard? Can I ask a question? Because what we're really dealing with is like the appropriateness of this,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
So the retaining wall, well, I think the real issue is the retaining wall running up against the sidewalk. Is this, I mean, if everybody does this and does a different retaining wall, it's gonna be a very strange Hudson. But I guess my question is, how tall is that wall? Have you contemplated like pushing that wall back a little bit so that the sidewalk is not so
I mean,
pressured by that?
it's already having, the neighborhood adjacent already have that kind of stone retaining situation to push it back. It will be a really like a high, it kind of like still reduce the height of the feeling of the height of the building. If you push it like a line in front, you have a garden at the buffer zone instead of having this raised podium with the building right in front of you.
So it would be a job from the existing distance to concrete, poured concrete, just kind of tilting out because it wasn't probably put in correctly. So we're matching that, we're a little bit over than that, and matching that straight across.
The blue
So
wall
that's
isn't
already
existing.
existing, that little.
Green.
Yeah,
Yeah,
green,
that's what it
is it painted concrete?
Yes.
Yeah. It's on, it's shown on this page, that existing blue wall, and presumably that more or less goes back to your adjacent property line.
And it's also right on the side.
And it's right on, the yes.
And all the houses, these four houses on this side that face six, they're all right on the side. So that's the way it was done back
I
then.
mean, I don't think it's uncommon to find in Hudson, a short retaining wall such as this,
Then we should
right on the
just
sidewalk.
vote to approve it then.
I think it's perfectly appropriate.
Yeah.
I agree.
But can we make a motion to?
We can do it to it, Paul.
Okay, so go ahead.
Motion to find the application complete, or do you want to continue?
No, that's.
And a second, people all in favor?
I want the contract to continue, that's what I want.
Motion to waive the public hearing and request the city attorney to proceed A, that's Jeremy and you, all in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you.
752 Warren Street, Crescent Corona. Come on back.
Oh, what was the address of the one we were just working on?
556 Union.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
We did that.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, okay, that was a question.
I'm just taking my name.
Gotcha. So, folks, how do you want to proceed? Do you want the guys to go through the plans again? Do you have a good idea of what's,
I focused, I think what we asked last time, so maybe we just focus on that screen.
Yeah.
the hardboard
over the heating pumps?
Yeah, so we switched to the hardy board for the fence and then,
And it's a unified height?
unified
I
height.
lowered the height about 8 inches, so that
It's the same height as the building? The structure at the top?
I think
Maybe we should pull that out.
recommended going down a little lower. 'Cause
we lowered it so the equipment was still obscured, to bring it down, so that it's about 4.5 feet now.
And that 4.5 feet meets what?
It's up, the heat pumps are above the level of the addition.
Roof.
And they're in the back corner, in the place where you see them least. Where you see a little bit from 8th Street and from the alley, but otherwise obscured if you are on Warren Street, looking at the building from any direction. And this is simply a screening fence to block the view of that if you're in the alley. Also, these fences help a little bit with noise reduction.
Yeah. Looks good. Maybe we addressed it. I think.
Careful, yeah.
Addressed it, except.
If that concern's been addressed satisfactorily for the commission, that is all we raised. We have a motion on the application.
Yeah.
Paul and Hugh, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to, we didn't have to talk about waiving public hearing, we did public hearing. Motion to request the city attorney to prepare a CBAC. Hugh and John in favor.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, Next order of business is informational presentation regarding Hudson Forum planned application. This is not a C of A. It is information only, but these folks were asked to come see us by planning before planning would review, so we accommodated.
Right, they need big picture, they need input on the facade, because if this board is not liking the way things are looking, then now is the time for them.
Okay, who's here to speak for the Hudson Forum project? Dan?
Hi, Phil. Thanks everyone for having us in today. I'm joined by Michael Walsh from Think Architects. Let's jump right into it. We're really excited to share the elevations and to just gather whatever kind of preliminary input you have. As an additional kind of process update, we are both in front of the planning board currently, who kind of wants to hear the initial response from the HPC, but we also have our drawing package in front of the New York State Historic Preservation Office, and we expect to get some feedback from them. What do you say, Michael, in the next 2 or 3 weeks?
Our SHPO part, I'm sure you're all aware of SHPO process. Part 1 was approved with the designation a while ago. Part 2 went in just recently. So we're expecting initial feedback in about a month from now. So late November.
So once we have that feedback, we'll come back in with a full application to the Historic Preservation Commission. But until then, we're excited to get your initial impressions. So I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Michael Walsh. For a moment, so I work with Think Architects in Brooklyn, but I've actually lived or had a house up in Hudson since 2016 on the 600 block of State Street. So this is like cannot be more literally my backyard. So I'm excited to work on it with the community. So I've been, and I also, I should say hello to John Schobel, a good friend from years. I'm maybe met some of you all. Excited to do this. So let me walk through this project with Galvin and Hudson Forum. Let's see, so you're all seeing presentation here. This is a selection from our SHPO presentation. So the building, I'm sure you're all aware of it, at Columbia and 7th, right at the corner of the park. So our challenge is to bring a new use to this building and work within its existing volume. That's been our main kind of charge. So we are going for state historic preservation tax credits on both the exterior and interior of the building. Today, understanding it's your purview is really the exterior. We'll focus on that. I'll at least walk you through what's going on inside. But the first parameter is truly to bring, the building was constructed in 1937 at, let's see, as a motion picture studio or motion picture auditorium. It did have a small stage. I'm sure a number of you have been to the building. Here we are. Certainly the historic fabric, particularly on the interior, is quite compromised from the 70s conversion to tennis. And then recently had a lot of plaster, a whole bunch of plaster had to be abated. It was tested, found to be containing asbestos. So that's the state of things. It leaves a really great exposed structure, which is interesting, and we want to really celebrate on the interior. But on the exterior, the building was constructed as part of a series of maybe 4 at the time community theaters, motion picture primarily. There was a small stage so that a traveling show could come through. And we really intend to restore as much of this as possible. We have some pretty good photographic evidence on the exterior. Also on the interior has been really helpful. And some of the descriptions of the building of the time. And also it has 3 or 4 sisters around New York and one in New Jersey of the same era, same architect, which is really helpful. So that's our references. So this is the original 1937 layout. And again, the basic feel of these spaces is still there, but things like restrooms and all that, and even this rather grand historic staircase has been all chopped up. So we will try to restore a lot of this, particularly focused on the portico and the and detailing around the exterior, And this whole right portion of the plan, both at the ground level and the vomitories here as you come up, we will be largely trying to restore that to its original feel. While still, as we get into the plans, I'll walk you through. We have, quite a bit of work to do to make this building now a modern, self-producing theater house and event space for community events and a lot of programs that Hudson Forum as kind of its own entity, with Galvin intend to host here. Site plan, we have, I believe this is accomplished at this point. The project really extends across the main theater lot and this building. You're seeing we're not adding really mass to the building. It does include now a dogleg rear portion of the adjacent house lot, which we're putting mechanical and kind of the utilitarian dumpsters and loading for the theater in that space onto Long Alley with screening, just to say. And we are also, we do have some mechanical units and have recently resolved to make sure that those will meet the noise ordinance of the zoning resolution. So that's all happening back here. We wanted to really focus the service side of the building to Long Alley. Right now, there had been maybe some grass might be a nice description. We do plan to do a paved terrace and landscaped edge in the front of the building, which is very similar to its historic original configuration. The idea is this be used for temporary events or just spill over from performance nights. And replacing all the sidewalks and curbs, which hopefully garners some goodwill around Hudson. I know it's a little rough. Cellar isn't super interesting. We have 2 existing cellars we're using. The first floor, so like I said, the portico historically was not enclosed. We are enclosing that with a very minimal glass curtain wall system, respecting the existing openings and setting that back from the existing brick to be as respectful and deferential as we can there. That does add enclosed volume, but doesn't really expand the building footprint, fortunately. And then we're using the same general approach into the building with the lobby and flow. The first floor hosts a number of more public-facing programs, including classroom and multi-purpose rooms, which Hudson Forum has a lot of plans to do. Youth theater. This is meant to be a community-run theater, so a lot of interaction with the public here, offices and all the rest. And then the main intervention is our stage level starts at a new 2nd floor level, but this is still our large stage and event space. We're working through this main portion over here. If you see my cursor, is actually retractable seating, telescoping, and we do, the theater program is intended to be a lot of focused on musical theater, but this all will have a series of floor filler platforms so that this can really clear away and become an event space, which I think is a really great thing for Hudson. We continue up with additional fixed balcony seating here and more production spaces, series of catwalks and technical spaces. But now moving to the exterior, existing conditions elevations. So a number of things like original railings or lattice work up over here have been removed. So we'll look to restore those. Doors have been really reconfigured and signboards are missing. So that's the kind of thing. As we go to the proposed, we're restoring a lot of that. So this is our new minimal glass curtain wall within here, but we'll need to restore quite a bit on the wood columns that are there. Recreate with as much fidelity as we can the original lattice work up here. Restore the pediment to say Hudson Forum. They were originally, so we're working within existing openings as much as we can, which seems to work with new mechanical systems. So there's one of those here. These were originally egress doors that aren't going to be used anymore. So there's a little bit of that, but restoring the signage, including the largest sign over here. And then as we turn, this is the Long Alley side. It's pretty simple, existing condition, and then new. So fortunately, not too much. We're actually able to restore 1 or 2 window openings, which is always a nice thing. We do have a roll-up door coming for loading. So a few small openings that we have to make over there. This is the 7th Street, the secondary, but actually important elevation because of everything Galvin's doing down the street at the Depot District. So the main feature really is like windows. This Palladian window is actually right next to the landing of that historic staircase, which is the main kind of promenade up to the theater. So we're going to be working to, in the proposed, we'll restore that window. There's certainly some restoration work to do, and either restore or replace, again, with historic profiles, all these windows through here, so that that streetscape is really restored. These doors are original. They're probably not functional today, but they actually those thresholds meet the sidewalk well. So we want to use those as secondary entries for persons with disabilities. But they actually come in under our grand staircase. It's a very nice moment. So we're going to make those a little more prominent, but otherwise they're existing openings that will remain. And again, over here, signboards, and we have some more infill curtain wall. The side elevation isn't too much happening. It's subtle. There's a garage structure that's in really, really bad structural shape. So we're going to be taking down that structure. This is new fencing to screen dumpsters and mechanical equipment at this rear area. We will have a small retaining wall on that back portion facing the house. But simple elevation that stays simple. I did want to start to represent how that curtain wall system looks. I know for SHPO, of course, it's a concern, understandably. So these are kind of the technical details of it. We're working on the engineering as much as we can to really minimize the sight lines through it. So it's only a 2.5-inch sight line if you look over here on the mullion. But facing exterior, it's an all glass type of system with silicone butt joints. So I think that'll be a very minimal presentation to the street. If you recall from the original photos, that portico space was always illuminated. Actually from kind of, if you see my cursor, this wall here, there's a row of still extant lights tucked in the top. So I think actually we'll be able to restore a lot of that feel to the street by lighting this space still and having that glow to the outside. So that's our goal. And I think that the curtain wall selection, supports that by being as minimal as we can. And a few of these details we'll have much more as we move along in developing the design. But a few of these details we're setting up so that they are set back from those existing openings. That's the way we're trying to be as respectful as we can of this existing structure. So yeah, I mentioned, I understand technically you guys don't review the interior, but this is our approach at the lobby and entry. We'll restore things like there's one of these existing light fixtures, we'll recreate additional so that they all match. That's our general approach here. Even some of the original terrazzo and blue carpet we'll try to respect where we can. This is the whole sort of interior arrangement of the first floor. We shared almost all of this with the planning commission as well, by the way. So as you come into the portico space, which is double height, it's quite tall, I'm sure you're aware. Come in through that lobby sequence, and then as you turn to the left, these are main stairs up to the theater level and through the more public program spaces. So it does change feel to a little more modern as we go inside, but this whole entry sequence and facing 7th Street as you come into the building is really meant to restore the historic fabric. And I think this is a little section through how we're dealing with the building. There's a lot of new structure coming in, particularly this 2nd floor level to accommodate the theater space. But this is our catwalks and exposing that historic structure of the roof up top. And then I think I'm landing here, but this is the main space that I think will be really exciting for the community to use. So as a fully set up as a theater, 400 seats total, and set up for an orchestra pit and live amplified musicals, or all the way to the other side where it's a pretty nice size event space and has all the theatrical and lighting tech backbone. So that's a really helpful production space, I think, for the community. So that's the intro. That's our project. Excited to get started. And I think, we can certainly open up to any questions. As we said, we are starting the SHPO process, and I think we'll make a more formal application to you all when we have that initial feedback. But this is our plan.
Can you switch back to the evening rendering we have of the exterior?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
pretty amazing.
It's very
Can I
exciting.
just add- It's really incredible. So it's gonna be transformative for Hudson. Can I ask about the glass curtain wall? Did you contemplate a design which did not include it?
So it was really important. I mean, actually, yes, it was really, the architects, we were very hesitant to put it in. It's important to Galvin to do that. It does gain a really helpful transition space.
Yes.
I think, you know, we'll figure out if there's really an everyday use for it. It helps.
I'm sorry, this is not a good time for me. I don't know how you got my number, but I'm doing something. I can't talk.
Someone needs to go on mute if you're an attendee or participant here.
It really helps us. So first of all, some weather protection because the original building did not have a weather vestibule, so that's always very useful. And then in particularly if this were rented out for an event space, event use, the idea is that a wedding potentially like the part of the reception would happen out here. So, and we might set up, bar, food kind of thing. So working within the existing footprint, but enclosing that space is really helpful to the program. So given that, functional desire, we wanted to be as minimal as we could.
I think it's also useful to look at this floor plan and see that curtain wall that you're proposing is well behind the colonnade of the main columns of the building. And so it's deeply recessed. And it happens a little bit more or less so, but still it is slightly recessed on the sides. So I think that curtain wall allows the enclosure of that space. It will be quite a dramatic space because it's very, very high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that could be extremely useful for the building as the uses develop there.
I think it's a great point to note that so could we go back to that front, to the exterior rendering?
Sure. Sorry, I try to do it as quickly as I can, but. Here,
So is there, could you zoom in there toward at the ground height? So there's a staircase. It looked like there was a stair on the plan, right? Or is that ground level?
There's the stair. Let me go back to the plan. Oops, sorry. Whoa. Okay, so there's a stair, the main historic grand staircase.
I mean, at the colonnade, between the columns, those aren't stairs. That's all at ground level, right?
No, yeah, all ground level. Yeah.
Yeah, there are no steps in between the columns. That's your question, right?
I guess the counterpoint is even though it's set back in the columns, so allowing the colonnade to sort of retain that integrity. What's more, it's set very far from the curve, right? So it's set back.
Yeah, so there still provides rain cover, if you will, for individuals going into the main entrance. The architecture of the columns remains intact. And I think this building is going to be transformed. I mean, it's spectacular.
What about the terrace? When we go
Transformation.
back to the rendering and just look at what the terrace, is that all just garden there? Or is there a wall on the outside?
So, it's pretty subtle back here. We'll do a low picket type of fence along the sidewalk, I think, and low gate just to, help with security night kind of thing. But there's a landscape planted edge and then paving. I think we've decided likely a precast paver in that area.
And also you're restoring the balustrade that is above the entablature that's up at the roof above the column. Is that correct?
This all isn't existing today, but we have good photos to recreate it, so we will.
Fantastic. That's great. With the urns.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Is that going to be an outdoor event space on that roof?
No, that roof won't be occupied. because, yeah, there isn't great access for it. There's like a small door occluded, it's over here. So no, yeah, we don't have great information on that roof structure. It would probably, we wouldn't want to really open that can of worms. So there wasn't originally a use up there. It was purely, just a roof rain cover.
It does have spectacular Catskill Mountain views.
It really does up there. So try to ask someone to let you up there, but yeah. It's I would be very hesitant to try to, get the roof to the level that it could support a whole event. So, yeah.
You said that it's based on, it has 3 companion buildings. Are those extant? Like, do they?
Yeah, let's see. I know, it'd take me a second to look that up. I know one's around Syracuse and one's I forget where in Jersey. They were the same architect and I believe actually the same sort of developer who built these right around the 30s. So I think
those you should send them around. That's really cool.
Yeah, John, I have a whole article on it.
Thank you.
I think the concept, the overall concept that you're presenting here is wonderful, fantastic. I love the restoration of the balustrade, obviously the restoration of the columns, and the original architectural intent is still here. You're inserting a very modern and very contemporary enclosure, the curtain wall, the glass curtain wall to enclose that porch space. And the interior work is achieving, from what I can see, a similar sort of balance of new work and historic work. So I think the preservation and the restoration of the building and the approach of the exterior that you've taken is fantastic. The plate-in window and included. The only thing that I see in this drawing that is a little of question is the sign that has this very bland and colonial revival appearance with the split pediment and I would suggest that you think about a signage that, of course, you have the photograph of the original.
Let me put it this way. We would love to explore some options. Honestly, I'm not sure that SHPO will let us deviate too much.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. All right. I was going to suggest that you take the opportunity to do signage that was very modern and very progressive and something that could extend all of the modern work that you're doing out into the signage. But I guess the other thing that you could say about that sign is that it's so over the top that it would be sort of a missed opportunity not to reproduce it.
Yeah. What I can say on signage is, going through the SHPO process, they tend to be quite literal on the restoration. So we will do that. Particularly on the actual kind of, let's say, millwork enclosure of these sign boxes, but particularly this one and this one, we actually intend to do digital signage within those so that there's a little more dynamic presentation there. So that's I think the level that we feel makes sense, acceptable to SHPO National Parks. Otherwise, though, yeah, pretty forensic type of restoration of the details of the exterior in the building.
Wonderful, thank you.
Commissioners? Okay, guys, do you have well, you followed through on what the request was from planning. I think we were pretty clear on a positive response, but any questions and concerns, or are you guys good to go forward?
I mean, whatever we do here, I think we should do it and underscore it in exclamation mark.
Okay.
I mean, we appreciate the positive response. Is there any kind of letter that could be provided? I mean, I know there's limits on what you can say,
Statements of
but
support, right?
Yeah.
We can write a letter of support, if
Great.
you need that. What's your timeline for going back to planning?
so we'll be going back in November.
Okay.
If you could provide a letter ahead of that meeting, I'd love to be able to share it with the planning board. That meeting is on November 8th, Tuesday.
Okay, we'll figure that out. The city attorney and probably Phil. We'll craft something and we'll run that past a couple of board members and we'll get that to you, but it will be a letter of support.
So we would need a motion to authorize chairman to send a, preliminary support letter.
May I have a motion?
Good job.
Gotcha.
You and it's approved. We have such a motion.
Thank you.
So it's you and me, Victoria. But we've done this before. We'll get you a good letter.
Yeah.
And
Assuming
that's,
all right to continue in more detail.
yeah, well, more to come, obviously. This is not an application that will come back to us, but in the meantime, we want to see you move forward. So ACES.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much for making the time for us today and for your support. It's greatly helpful.
Thank you very much, everyone. Look forward to meeting with you
Take care.
in more detail. Thanks.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Commissioners, one more item that I'm kind of bouncing back because we're trying to work with the city. Obviously on the calendar for the remainder of the year. And there are multiple parameters. One, I believe, November 11th is Veterans Day. I'm sorry.
43. North Sixth. They're not on, but the gentleman is here, so I don't.
43 North Sixth Street is approved
For the roof.
for the roof.
Did you have?
I was due to come back and present my findings for the sign aspect.
Sorry. Yes,
Yes.
go for it. I apologize. I had just thought it was roof approval.
That's fine.
Understood.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Rodriguez. Again, I had one application, 3 items. I believe one of the items was meant to be part of a separate application, which is the garage aspect. Thank you so much for the certificate for the roof. However, I'm still trying to get a certificate for the siding.
For the siding and the rest of the project, understood.
Right,
How
so
much has been communicated with code, with Craig?
as of right now, for the roof,
No, the roof is done deal,
okay,
the rest of the project.
well, I believe I need to go through you guys before I get to Craig.
It kind of goes,
He's bringing us information that we asked for
Correct.
to remove the metal siding so we could see the siding behind it.
I understand, what I'm struggling, we can't actually vote on that unless it's been through Craig, but we can accept the information.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I need a clear, instruction, because 2 weeks ago, my duty was to go into some findings, come back and report, and that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Now, if you're telling me that I need to go to Craig before this can be approved, then that's not what I was told the week before.
Okay,
So I just need to know clearly what is expected from me so I can do my due diligence and get this project started. I believe that's pretty.
all right, let's go back through it again. We segmented the project into 2 bits, right? We broke out the roof, because you need to proceed on that, and the theory of the case would get going when you can get going. On the rest of the project, we asked you to discover what was underneath the siding.
Yes.
Is that correct?
And come back and present.
And we could defer back, I suppose, to the original application. I'm okay with that.
Okay,
Go forward.
yes.
Thank you. So last week, 2 weeks ago, I presented, just a small section of the black metal siding that we removed. And we found 6-inch wooden board, just clapboard siding underneath it, which is original to the structure. The next step was going to be to remove the rest of the black siding and see what's underneath it in the first and second floor. I'm going to start from the bottom up. So the first floor, this is what's underneath the black siding and a lot of the area.
Could you bring this up so that?
Sure.
See it a little
Sure
bit better? Thank you. So that's the siding, the wood siding that's underneath the metal on the first. floor.
On the first floor, that is correct.
Right.
Um,
You showed us some of this last time.
right, yeah, so the one that I showed last time was actually in very good condition. There is portions of it that it's in decent condition. Most of it looks like this. It's been sitting behind metal siding for many years, with, there almost look like a direct water stream on it, because it's very deteriorated. This is what's behind the clapboard siding.
Could you bring that forward a little bit so we could see that? So this is the sheathing that's underneath the wooden clapboard.
Right.
You've taken the wooden clapboard off of this surface.
Correct.
So you're looking at here.
Correct.
So show that to the other commission members so they can see that.
So that's what's under the green original siding. And however, this, even though there's a lot of damaged areas, our intent would be to just fill the gaps with some sort of spray foam. And then just replace the 6-inch clapboard siding to make it basically a replica of what it was there before.
So this would be a replacement in kind of the wood siding.
Correct, for the first floor.
Yes.
And in some other areas, that plywood sheathing is completely rotted out and destroyed. So that would have to be replaced and siding like I mentioned. That's the first floor. For the second floor, I'm actually happy to announce that we found fish scale siding. And it is it's a very nice feature on their home. And it's my client's intention to keep this fish scale design and restore it. So basically what we are looking for, or the approval that we're looking for, is to be able to replace and sheathe the first floor properly and restore the second floor siding.
And when you restore the second floor siding, that's wood, that's a wood shingle, that is the fish scale is wood. And is it paintable? Is it salvageable? I mean, is it restorable?
I would say the great majority, yes. For instance, the clearer parts obviously are in better shape than whatever else.
There are some areas of damage.
Right.
But you can restore that with a wood shingle siding.
Correct. So we'll restore whatever we don't have to touch or remove, we won't, and then whatever it's not restorable, we will just replace and make it part of the entire.
Yeah, you'll restore it with a wood fish scale. Sure.
Correct.
And you'll also maintain the exterior woodwork, the corner board that you see there with the bead on it, and that's a very, very interesting curved soffit that's underneath that cantilever of the second floor. Is that wood?
Yes, that is all wood. Some of it has a metal cover on it, but that's still from the metal.
Yeah, I'm looking at what is at the bottom of this image. If you could show this to the other commission members, it's a really interesting piece of woodwork.
Correct.
That's perfectly consistent with the architecture of the building. You can see the shadow of the former drive. Oh, it had a head trim over the window in this image.
Yes, and my client would also like for us to restore the edges of the windows.
Oh, that'd be great. Do you have any of that material left any place?
No, it was completely.
Just the outline.
It was completely cut off to accommodate the metal side. Correct.
But maybe the house next door has a similar head trim that might be intact?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe
so. That could be an excellent model for you to construct that.
Right, so Like I said, I appreciate the certificate of appropriateness for the roof. However, I'm still looking for a certificate of appropriateness for the siding work, which is part of the same application.
Jen, were you able to get the details on the restoration?
Yes, I should.
The bid scale and the all that good stuff?
Yeah,
And now they're gonna be-
the siding,
Okay.
you're keeping all the wood siding up, and.
The second floor,
What about the one?
that we need to replace. We need to,
Right, so it's replacing the first floor and restoring.
correct,
And the portico is the second.
and
The portico.
yes, that's going to be done along.
Oh, there's no porch.
So I,
Let's just try to read it.
yeah, so we have an
It's like, I
approval.
wonder if this was one house.
No, I found the deed.
We're just trying to recap the agreement.
Sorry.
So
So
that,
we have an approval, a C of A approved for, to replace your roof. And
That's
what
done.
you're looking for is a C of A to replace this, restore and replace the siding, which includes a wooden clapboard and then a fish scale in kind, like for like, with wood, restore and restore where possible and replace and paint, with wooden fish scale.
Correct.
And
That's-
you will also consider being inspired by the next door neighbors to restore the head trim that the.
Of the window.
Around the windows, yes.
That would require separate CLA, right? Or are you including that in the?
I'm comfortable including it.
Yeah, because we don't include in this, I'll just put siding, we'll probably just put siding over it because we're
Okay,
definitely pushing to get this done before I'm just gonna pull the winter.
So then I also, just to follow through, we are still, we need to discuss at a different meeting, the porch, or I guess portico,
Yeah.
as we're calling it. And then you've also mentioned the garage structure.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
At another meeting.
Yes, that's down a
we
little.
need more clear about the neighboring for the match of the head trim. Is it the neighbor to the north, south, east, or west?
Is the neighbor to the
Five-
west
555.
down on State Street?
555 state.
Thank you.
Good. Well done. I'm very, thanks so much, Jen. I'm very comfortable that we captured that.
Yes, that's exactly correct. Thank you so
If
much.
it's good, I think we
Well, I
can
don't
move forward.
That's what I showed you this morning.
Given the specifications that Jan just read, motion to find the application complete.
Unanimous.
Motion to waive the public hearing and request the city attorney to prepare a C of A to review at the next meeting. Paul and anyone, you in favor? Unanimous. Okay. You got it.
Thank you, fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Nice work.
Thank you. Ben.
So that's a pretty cool collaboration, really. When Chip called out, the fish scale might be there if we're there.
They were there. It was quite quiet, and we were impressed.
All right.
So just
He is
one question. The question is, how do I proceed? I know I have the green light for the roof. How do I proceed with this site?
You have to wait 2 weeks.
Wait 2 weeks and we'll have a C of A. This will be drafted up by the city attorney. And we vote on that, I believe.
But he's replacing in kind,
Yeah, I don't know about that.
no?
Is it?
Correct, but my thought was or what I understood was to come back to and report that, and if it's all being treated as one application, and I already got a C of A. Does that apply for my signing as well, since now it's been approved?
The approval was, had a caveat based on.
It was just the
Yeah.
roof.
So
So
That was the roof only, Chip, and.
Yeah, I get that.
Where we get caught, even with the best of intentions, is that when stuff doesn't get institutionalized in the C of A, it can't be enforced. So the question is, we need a document to give to Craig. That is blessed by the commission. It's that simple. Now, we can say to the applicant, we're okay with you to go forward with the work. That's reasonable, but we still have to have a document for enforcement.
Okay, okay,
Fair,
Okay,
fair, good,
fair.
yeah,
thank you.
All right.
fantastic, thank you, good work.
Thank you.
can I just, while we're on this structure, the Sanborn map indicates that there probably wasn't anything there. But there is something there now, so how was the talking about? What's that?
Porch.
Yeah. It doesn't belong. Well, no, it looks, according to the Sanborn maps, there was nothing there.
So this is a photograph of the neighbor's house. That turret is this turret. Right?
Okay, great.
And
Nice outfit.
And this, thank you. And that turret actually overlaps the property line. And there is a porch shown here and a porch shown here. There are no porches shown here. It's a possibility that that might have been built as a single building, although
No,
You-
it's definitely two separate buildings.
you've researched the deeds on that. But it's also
So
possible.
was there
that-
an entrance to this other building? What?
It's also possible that it could have been two deeds, but it could have been two family members building one house, for instance. But there is no porch shown on this, which is very curious.
So it was like a very flat facade, and so could there have been like a recessed vestibule type entry? But my point is, if this is as it is with that porch on it, what is our directive? They can keep it if they want or fix it up. Because it's there. Even though
They can only do like for like.
so if they in
They
the
want it to
future,
look
they want to
exactly
come
like
and
that.
keep that.
They're going to come back to discuss the porch.
Yes.
But I
But I
think
think the point is
they're
we
gonna
can-
want a porch.
But I think the point is, since there was nothing there, we can be liberal in our, as long as it's appropriate.
No, and
right?
that's why
We can
I
be
wanted
liberal.
to
We're not
have
trying to
this
protect
discussion.
anything.
Now.
Yeah. Let them come back with a porch
Yeah,
proposal.
it explains why those houses literally look like they're jammed together and.
Yeah.
That is
In
very
fact,
helpful.
State Street has a lot long, like for an
Mhm.
8-foot wide easement on the on the Sixth Street.
That's really helpful. Thank you for finding that.
Yeah, Paul, that's really super good, super
Good
useful
sleuthing.
work. Really good.
Nice, well done, Paul.
Well, thank you.
I propose that the meeting be adjourned.
I propose that we solve the
Wait, just
calendar
dates.
problem
Okay.
before we adjourn
I
the meeting.
propose we wait then. to adjourn.
To begin at the beginning, we've got about 4 meetings going forward that are in play. And there are a couple aspects to it. In one case, November 11th, we can't do it, it's Veterans Day. In other cases, the meetings are either City Hall is closed or they're approximately closed to either Christmas or whatever. That's not gonna work. Pardon?
Veterans Day, this building is closed?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Now,
we just
they
need
can
to
give
be-
us, they can give us a key.
Why don't we just do that? I mean, does anyone have Veterans Day off work?
I take Veterans Day every year.
All right.
No, I won't be here then.
If we want to do Veterans Day, that is, I believe. What is it, November 25th?
The 25th, and
November
most
11th.
people treat the 25th.
No.
November 11th, I'm sorry. You want to do November 11th and let ourselves in with a key?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Is that a plan?
Okay by me.
All right, let's keep on going. What do we do about the 20? Let me put that down. All right, November 11th is get key. And we're gonna open City Hall.
Mhm.
Challenge number 2 is November 25th.
What is that?
The day after Thanksgiving, City Hall is again, I believe, closed.
That's not gonna be good for anybody.
And that's not a good time. People are gonna have family.
I'm around.
So skip the 25th, no meeting. Agreed?
Yes.
Agreed.
And let's move forward.
Go to the second.
December
December
2nd.
9th.
Next,
No, December 2nd.
Well, we could do
The second.
the second,
December
No.
2nd.
just because we only have one meeting in November now.
there'll be, I don't think there'll be a lot of material at that. People will be off. I don't care, but
So you do the second.
that's silly.
Just-
Down right on top
Just
of one another.
just keep it on the ninth. Okay.
I think I'm okay with the 9th, and John said he could share. I'm gone.
Mhm. Okay,
December 9th is
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
And then what do you want next? It would be December 23rd, which is awkward
Yeah.
for most people. It's doable, by the way. City Hall is open.
I won't be here.
All right.
It would be
So,
nice.
till the 23rd.
Maybe the 16th.
I recommended the 16th.
You sure? Just a week later? People won't have, what, a week earlier?
It's better than they want to, like,
They won't have anything.
Wait, so just do one on the 16th or the 9th and the 16th?
You can do the 16th, just to vote on the CSA so that those people.
Okay, So we do December
okay, so
16th.
very fast on the
is
16th, but we'll need a quorum. So
See, they vote.
let's make sure that if you're not going to be here, you let us know.
So
I'll
the 16th will be C of A votes, that
Oh,
were,
my,
that were decided on 12/9.
correct.
Maybe we could do that online.
Yeah.
Nope, it has to
We
be,
cannot do it on.
has to be in person, unless you have the,
We have someone in person speak for you.
the city, cannot delegate your vote. The city of Hudson has a video conferencing policy. If you have an admission, you're sick, you're taking care of someone in the family sick, there's an exception, but you need to have an in-person quorum.
This can work. Okay, yeah.
I see. So if you're sick, you can come dial in, but there you, I see. All right.
So John, I'm gone, so you would be sharing both the 9th and
Fine.
16th.
Okay.
Blessings, John, thank you. So here's what we got. We got November 11th, get key. November 25th, no meeting.
Okay.
December 9th, we're on, and December 16th, we're on.
And the note for December 9th has an extended meeting on the 9th.
Well, I mean, let's just hold on to that.
To the 11th, 12th, and then 16th.
No,
The 11th, the 9th, and the 16th.
correct.
Yeah, it's the only additional thing.
And no meeting on the.
That rocks?
Yes,
We're in.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
wait, let's have a formal meeting.
Oh.
Pardon?
We vote on the meeting adjourned.
Yes.
Someone, right, make a motion, I make a motion that the.
Second, in favor? Aye. We're good. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Interesting discussions today.
Thank you on remote. Wait, hold on. So who's chairing on the election?
On the
Bill will
11th,
chair on
it's
November
still me.
11th.
Oh, okay,
I will chair on the 9th and the 16th.
got it. Go home.
And there's no
Or
like,
whatever
11th
we
is the
call
9th
And the
and the 16th.
16th, but the 16th is,
Oh,
we're
God.
just gonna.
Yeah, we need to
approve.
I turned it in.
No application.
I see why I called her now. It's got little eyes and face.
Who?
That.
Oh. Who?
The owl.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,